Best Irish music on irishradio.org with Jerry Byrne.
Irish Radio it is now, and back on earlier programmes. They're still up on YouTube if you fancy listening into them. I've spoken to a couple of representatives of Border Communities Against Brexit. Now, it's been much in the news, speaking of the Northern Ireland Protocol and all to do with that. Very, very much in the news. It's been over the past, indeed, over a year at this stage. And now, online, I've got a gentleman who's a member of Border Communities Against Brexit, and that's Bernard Boyle, who's an accountant from Forkhill. Bernard, lovely to speak to you.
Morning, Jerry. How are you?
Not bad at all. Bernard, tell me this: the whole Brexit thing continues, even though it was promised that Brexit would be done and all the rest of it. But the controversy as regards Brexit still goes on, and one of the major sticking points and the major issues about it is the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is has become known almost worldwide at this stage. Right across Europe are very, very aware of it. And needless to say, there are soundings from the British government all about it, plus from the American administration about it as well.
Yeah, well, here we are again, Jerry, and I know you covered our protest in the past when the withdrawal agreement was being negotiated, and thanks for the publicity you gave at that time, but, it's like deja vu all over again. As far as the withdrawal agreement was concerned and the protocol, we saw the protocol as a compromise. It was something which actually left the north of Ireland in a very advantageous place as far as trade was concerned, where we had access to both the UK and the European market without any hindrance to that trade at all. So I wouldn't say we were happy about the protocol, but we were happy enough so that we accepted it as a compromise. And unfortunately, here we are again, more than 12 months later, and we're back having to demonstrate on the border again to highlight the issues of the removal of the protocol or any changes to the protocol as it exists at the moment.
Indeed.
Because as far as the protocol is actually working well for the island as a whole, but more particularly for the north of Ireland.
Right. Okay. So the situation. I mean, it's. I think it should be noted here, Bernard, that the agreement for the Northern Ireland Protocol. I mean, it was all signed as part of the Brexit deal, which is less than 12 months ago. It was signed.
And that's why we stood down at that time. As far as we were concerned, we had raised the issue as far as the border was concerned and the problems with putting a hard border in Ireland, and that seemed to us to have been agreed with in the withdrawal agreement and the protocol. As far as we were concerned, it was done and dusted, and that's when we stood down. And now we're back in this situation again where we've had the protocol. As far as we're concerned, the protocol is working. There is no need to change it. And as a matter of fact, the statistics show that businesses in the north of Ireland are booming as a result of the protocol because of their access to the markets. For instance, there's a company in Craigavon called Almac. They're a pharmaceutical company. And they're creating 1,800 jobs, 1,000 of them on the island of Ireland. And they call that the Almac advantage of the protocol. And in speaking to businesses all across the north, businesses are happy with the situation as it is at the moment. They're happy enough with the protocol because it gives them access to both markets. It's good for business. And their only problem is, as a matter of fact, staff shortages. There are that many vacancies and new jobs which have been created because of the protocol that they can't be filled.
Okay. Now, the one interesting thing that you were saying about the advantages, Bernard, to the to all these businesses is that particular message doesn't appear to be filtering outside of the north of Ireland.
Well, apart from the DUP, there are two aspects to this. One is the trade aspect and the economic aspect, and the other is the constitutional issue. And the DUP, as far as they're concerned, any hindrance to trade between GB and Northern Ireland actually that affects their constitutional position as they see it. And as far as they're concerned, the trade and economic benefits come second place. The protocol and the situation as it is at the moment, I've lived long enough in the border areas. I've lived all my life in this border area. And that's nearly 70 years. And I've seen the situation on the border. Well, first of all, back in the 60s when there was a customs border there and there were iron spikes put on the roads and travel was restricted between the two parts of the island. I've seen the 60s and the 70s and the 80s where the British Army was here and they were cratering roads to create a border as well. But I've also seen no border here. It's practically no border. As far as we're concerned, there's free trade, free movement across the whole of the island, and that has only but been beneficial. The irony is that, it's 100 years this year that partition was actually introduced into Ireland, and here we are 100 years later, and it's still an issue.
Indeed, it's it is quite incredible, and but now later on today, you're actually doing a protest at a number of the so-called border crossings. Even though most people, if they visited Ireland for the first time, they wouldn't realise where the border was.
Well, we've had a number during the last campaign. We've had a number of foreign journalists and foreign media which have come to the border to see what the problem was. And we've actually had to point out what the differences are. The differences are very, very... For instance, if you travel from north to south, the signposts are in kilometres per hour in the south as opposed to miles per hour in the north. And apart from that, you wouldn't notice the difference. The other difference is the difference between the currencies. The euro in the south of Ireland and sterling in the north. People have developed a sufficient mental agility to be able to make that conversion very quickly when they compare prices.
Indeed so. Now you're doing a protest. You're doing it at a number of the border crossings, and later on today at 3:00.
Yes.
And what's
Karen, we have to highlight the situation again. EU actually has been very supportive of the problem or the issue as far as the border is concerned in Ireland. They have done everything possible. So the Good Friday Agreement, and to resist the issue of a hard border here. Unfortunately, after the signing of the withdrawal agreement, when that's been reneged on, that issue comes back into force again. What we're afraid of at this point in time is that Article 16 of the withdrawal agreement will be implemented. And as a result of that, the European Union would have to make some sort of, as they call it, take some balancing measures. But as Lord Frost calls it, retaliation. It's not retaliation. There is a border, and there will be a border between Europe and Great Britain, and that would be on the island of Ireland. And that would be a disaster for trades, for economics, and for social and family lives as well for people on the border. How is it policed? How is it going to be implemented? The EU will want to maintain the credibility of the single market, and it's scary at the moment to think of the effect that any border on the island of Ireland would affect.
Now, Bernard, the triggering of Article 16 would have a huge impact.
Yes, it would indeed. Our fear is that if Article 16 is triggered, that the European Union will have to take, as they call it, balancing measures, but as Lord Frost would call it, retaliation, in response to triggering of Article 16. If there were tariffs and quotas put on goods exported between EU and UK, that would be seen most vividly on the border between North and South, because the EU would want to maintain the credibility of the single, and they're going to have checks somewhere. And as far as we're concerned, we don't want those checks on the border.
Indeed.
Not between North and South.
Indeed. Well, the from history, as we all know, the border in Ireland never really worked or was popular with any tradition who lived any place near it.
That's quite right. Having lived along the border for the past 70 years, I can see where the differences are between when the hard border was there and when that border was removed in the 70s because of Britain and Ireland joining the European Union. There were restrictions in movement, both social and economic. during those years. That has been removed totally. So, if you were here at the moment and travelling between north and south, you don't actually see the difference. You don't see what difference a border would make. Encouraged social interaction between the two sides of this island.
Okay.
An all-island economy.
Right, and so you basically, you're obviously, your organisation, which is represented by people from numerous backgrounds in the border communities area. You're obviously very, very fearful of this, and you see huge, absolutely monumental problems as regards all of this.
Yes, well, we don't see this as being a constitutional issue. Unfortunately, the likes of the DUP and even the Tory government see this as a constitutional issue, and the weakening of the link between between GB and the North. We don't see it that way at all. As far as we're concerned, it's an ideal situation at the moment with the protocol, where there is free trade and free access to markets both within the UK and had nothing but benefit.
Right. Now, the other thing about it is that this all fits into the Good Friday Agreement, which is an internationally signed agreement.
And that Good Friday Agreement has been to the forefront in the previous negotiations, especially by the EU, right up to the date of the withdrawal agreement. And in addition to that, the US has been very strong in support of the EU against the 16 and against any hard border in Ireland.
Indeed so.
So we've had, the pressure is coming from more than just ourselves, it's coming internationally as well.
Indeed so. Do you feel that your protests later on today at those various border crossings will have an impact and will get the message through how important the protocol is, combined with the Good Friday Agreement and fitting in with the Good Friday Agreement? How absolutely vital this is. Do you think that message will get out there?
Well, do something. We did this before. It was an awareness raising campaign before, which was successful in that it did highlight the Good Friday Agreement and the threat to the Good Friday Agreement that any hard border would have. We're doing the same thing again. Unfortunately, a lot of the businesses which are doing well in the north of Ireland at the moment are afraid to put their heads above the parapet. As far as they're concerned, let's get on to do it on behalf of everybody that disagrees with the hard border.
Right, okay. So
awareness raising,
Indeed so. And no doubt, your organisation and many others are you watching every single day for the various talks which are happening on it at the moment, and seeing what is happening, and waiting with bated breath to that hopefully the whole situation can be sorted out.
Yes, along with that, there have been meetings here in the north as well. David Frost has been over here he has communities right the north. His communities have put them that, as far as they're concerned, nothing wrong with the protocol. It's just the things that are wrong with the protocol have been negotiated, and it should be made to work rather than to.
Okay, Bernard, listen, it's been lovely to talk to you, and thanks indeed for explaining it. And listen, I'll let you get on ahead, because no doubt you'll be shortly going to those protest meetings happening at the border. Bernard Boyle, Border Communities Against Brexit. Listen, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Jerry.